Okay. So, thank you so much for sitting down and joining us tonight. I'm really excited to kind of talk through your journey a bit and a little bit about your career and kind of hear you reflect about the current tech ecosystem.
Sounds good. I will try to be as candid as possible. Sometimes I swear. I'm going to try to rein it in a little bit, but we'll see what happens. Depends on how tough the questions get.
I don't see anyone under the age of 13 here, so I think we're good. Okay, so for those in the audience who are unfamiliar with Plusgrade, can you tell us a little bit about Plusgrade and what your role is as CMO?
Yeah, so Jane, I think, did a great job introing it. We're all kind of trying on the what is Plusgrade. It's a new entity for us. I think everyone here came from the points side of the business, and we were acquired, actually making us one of the largest tech companies in Canada. And we have over 500 employees in 8 offices around the world, and we work with over 200 of the biggest airlines, hotels, cruise lines, and rail lines. So Points, the acquired company, which I am still CMO of, works in the loyalty industry. And if you ever get those buy miles emails from your favorite loyalty programs, that's us. So we work to help make loyalty currency more usable. And then the acquiring company Plusgrade, which is now all of us, we work in the travel ancillary revenue. So if you ever get like any happy thing that you want to pay a travel company for, like an upgrade, not baggage, not insurance, like an upgrade, a free seat beside you, we work on those programs with all of our airline and hotel and cruise and rail partners all over the world. So I'm the CMO for both companies now, and I'm still just learning what that means.
Very fun. And so you've had kind of a varied career to make it to your current position. You started in theater, and I hear you majored in theater, which so did I, so yeah. Look where that got us. Didn't work out, but
we're both here.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So then you moved to work at record labels and then a telecom startup, and now you're in tech. Can you tell us a little bit how that happened?
Yeah, I have no idea. So basically, yeah, I did move here from Montreal to study theater. I was at Humber College Theater Performance at the time, like 5 million years ago. And then actually just moved to study criminology, strangely, part-time, because I thought it was interesting and I liked watching Law & Order and I thought that would be cool. And then I ended up getting a job at a record store and thought this is cool and this would be a really great way to spend my days. And then ended up getting a call from someone at a record label who was like, someone's on sick leave. You may keep this job for 2 weeks if you fill in, or 2 years, we have no idea. And I moved there and stayed for 6 years and left as the label manager for Interscope Records. And then kind of thought, this kind of plays into the theme of today. As a woman in my 30s working hip hop records, I kind of thought that my time was limited just because of the way that would be viewed, right? And so ended up thinking, okay, how do I transition this experience to somewhere where I can use my skills and expertise, and ended up working for a wireless startup that had a really great kind of content play in the music industry. If anyone remembers Amp Mobile, it was like forever ago. I think we lost all our money because the CEO took helicopters to work and didn't really work out. And then ended up actually working for SiriusXM. I had met someone at Amp Mobile who was one of the smartest humans I have ever met, and decided, I was at a director level at the time, and he ran data science and marketing analytics in his previous role and was moving to SiriusXM, and I was like, I will title down to a manager title so that I can work with you and pick your brain and learn everything that you know, and that's what I did. And then ended up staying there for 6 years and eventually being the VP of conversion at SiriusXM, just kind of was the best backwards to move forwards kind of move, and then got recruited at Points. Stayed there for 3 years, rebuilt their marketing team and built their data science and analytics practice, and then left to do 2 startups. I worked at Hubba and at Nix, and then 3 years ago found my way back to Points and now Plusgrade. So yeah, I couldn't have scripted any of it. I would say that A lot of it was about meeting people at events like this and talking to as many people as possible, and just coming from the theater world saying yes and to every opportunity that presented itself, I think.
Yeah, and so you didn't complete your undergrad, right?
No, I did not.
Okay. And was there a reason that happened? Do you regret it now? Do you think it stopped you from getting some opportunities?
Yeah, okay, so I would say the reason, it's twofold, right? I had to put myself through school. I think a bunch of us know what that feels like, and I couldn't afford it. I couldn't pay my rent and go to school full time. And I ended up getting work experience that I truly loved and thought, okay, this is cool. Maybe I could make a living at this. And it absolutely did hold me back in the beginning. Does it matter now? Absolutely not. No one cares. I hire differently because of the background too. So I know that I like to have a diverse team where some have formal educations and some don't. Some have just learned, like people learn differently, right? And I happen to be one of those humans who learns better outside of a classroom, so I have to respect that from everybody else who I can meet. I also really respect people who learn inside of a classroom. It's just understanding that there's not one path. So I'd say, yeah, one is I couldn't afford it. Two is, yeah, it made things a lot harder earlier on, trying to prove that I could. I think a lot of the feedback I got was, well, how do I know you can complete something? How do I know you can stick around and go through something? So I think that was the biggest thing. But now, no, now it doesn't hold me back. I don't think so. But it took me, I think, 15 years to not regret it.
Okay, and if you're to look back, would you have any advice for someone who is starting out on a more unconventional path as well, who didn't take their undergrad, who's trying to break into a career? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I think the number one thing is figure out how you learn, and your path is not going to be the same as everybody else's. I think you have to be honest about, am I not going because I'm trying to find a faster route, which is valid, but then that means you're going to have to put in the work some other way, right? I think kind of like where I had to title down and kind of moved backwards because there was a lot of knowledge I missed from not having gone to school. It's having that awareness of maybe your path is going to be less linear if you take a less traditional route. And I think for me anyway, it was understanding that I had some blanks to fill in that I missed because my education wasn't it needed to be kind of filled in because it wasn't as well-rounded or as rounded it, or kind of, it didn't get rounded out in the traditional way, so I was missing some pieces.
I think it's great to hear that you found such a success, because I think for a lot of women, it's really hard to break in, especially when you have to prove yourself even more by not having those conventional skills. So I think that's great to hear.
And you know what I think, so you touch on something that I have noticed and I've had conversations with friends about this, and even when I look at resumes I see coming in, what I find absolutely fascinating with the resumes that I get from women is they are, I'm going to say this in a, I'll just be honest about this. The women that I get applying for jobs are ridiculously more qualified. And what I mean by that is men are more likely to put themselves up for a position that they are less qualified for because there's some sort of an understanding or some sort of a belief system that says, I deserve this. And the thing about women, about trans people, is I think that there's a different understanding of what we've been conditioned to think that we deserve. And so I think that's important to note, which is the men have it right in this situation. Take a chance, because what you may find is that someone lists a whole bunch of qualifications you need. You can't read everybody's mind. One or two of those qualifications may be way more important than others, and those might be the two that you have. So you're not wasting anyone's time. Go and make your case.
Well, thank you. I think that's the perfect segue, because now I'm going to ask you, what do you think we can do in the tech industry to improve equity for women and improve on diversity overall?
Yeah, so I'll say that I say this from a very privileged position as a woman. I get it. I'm a white woman. I'm a straight white woman, and I think everyone knows that about me as the way I present, right? And so it is easier for me than a lot of other women and a lot of other people. And so I want to acknowledge that that yes, things have been difficult for me, but that things are a lot more difficult for other people in this room. And so I think that it is really, really important that when we're in hiring positions, number one, is to be able to say, we all have to get to a point. I mean, I don't know that we have to. I have gotten to the point where I believe that building a diverse team, and I mean diversity in gender, in ethnicity, in thought, in background, in whatever, in learning styles, is so important because the people who use our products are just like the society in which we represent. And so if we only have one point of view, I don't need any numbers to tell me that we're going to be missing something. We're going to be missing something. So we build way stronger teams when the teams that we have don't necessarily look alike, but that look like the populations that we're trying to serve. And we don't all have to get there, but the companies who get there are just going to build way better products and be more successful.
I think that's right on the nose. I feel like we talk a lot about hiring and not so much about what is the benefit. Where do you see that pay off, really?
So we can be absolutely selfish about this. Yeah, is it the right thing to do to hire a diverse team? Absolutely. But does it make you more money? Yeah, it absolutely does. And I think once we all wrap our heads around that fact, then it's lovely to do the right thing, but it's not an altruistic thing. It's selfish. And you want to build a better business, you hire a more diverse team.
Okay, well, thank you so much. So I just want to open up a bit to the audience to get some of their questions if they have any before you leave. Do we have anyone with any questions? Just raise your hand and I'll bring the mic right to you. Yeah.
Thank you, Danielle. I just had a question. Sponsorship is another piece to the equity puzzle versus mentorship. What are your thoughts on that? Have there been any sponsors that have really helped you?
Yeah, I mean, I think I've been fortunate enough to have people who have really been in my corner, like that person I mentioned that I followed from my startup. His name is Scott Williams. He works at Magnet Forensics. He would die if he knew I just said his name out loud. But you do have to find people who you trust are saying great things about you when the door is closed and you're not in the room. And I think you have to advocate and be really, really strong about trying to find someone like that for you. And I think for those of us who are in a position to be able to sponsor others, and that doesn't just mean in our own companies, but that means in the community at large, we all, if we've gotten to a point where we feel like we're successful, owe it to ourselves and owe it to people who owe it to other humans to actually advocate for other people as well. And so I think you're right. I don't think that we have movement without really specific sponsorship for ourselves and for each other.
We did it. It was a complete success. Alex,
Speechless.
you have a question? Take the mic.
Life can put people in awkward situations. So I'm sure you've had one or two. How do you deal with the bullshit when someone puts you in an awkward situation?
Oh my God. Okay. Look, how I deal with it now and how I would have dealt with it before are two completely different things. How I deal with it now, I'm in the C-suite. I can pretty much be ridiculous and tell people to back the fuck off and to tell them they're being ridiculous. And I've kind of earned that space that I can say that now. Several years ago, if I found that people were being ridiculous, there's no way I could. I'd be insubordinate and I'd probably get fired. And a lot of you, I think, probably deal with that every day. And I think that what's really important, early on in my career, I think I was described as contrarian a lot because I spoke my mind probably a little too much or in the wrong way. And I would say it's always one of those, think about the situation and are you responding at the right time and in front of the right people. It's never don't say what you need to say. And it's never take the bullshit because you don't have to. It just might be situational around when you're coming up in your career. It might just be more like take a breath and take someone aside and have a conversation. Whereas I have the privilege to be able to call someone out and in public, tell them that I think they're being offside.
So one quick follow-up question.
Yeah.
How do you build a support network to when you're earlier on so you can take that breath and not just get fired for being controversial?
Yeah, look, I think one thing would be it really depends on your relationship with your manager. And I think being able to talk through with your manager, look, this is my style, this is how I'm going to respond, this is how I'm going to react, is one way if you're fortunate enough to have someone who you can have those conversations with. But otherwise, it's like if you look at a room like this, there are so many people who are in the same position. This is a great community. And it's not necessarily that you need someone's support in the moment, but you can always find someone's support. You might be at a small company and you might want to just find other marketing managers or product managers or engineers who are working in the same type of field as you. So I would say you kind of look at events like this, you join groups, you reach out to people on LinkedIn. I have met a whole bunch of people on LinkedIn who have been looking for support like this. And sometimes you have to hit on a bunch of people to find someone who's going to support you. But I think it's be fearless in the people that you approach and build your network. It doesn't have to be about where you work.
Oh, we have a hand up. I'll bring the mic right to you.
Thank you. So I'm curious, are there any new marketing channels that you think are promising?
Yeah, I mean, like ChatGPT and all of that good AI stuff. If I think about travel, just if I think about how many people used that tool and tools like that to ask things like, where should I go on my next vacation? If we as marketers are not thinking about that next generation of AI tools and we're still working on SEO and socials and stuff, we're just not going to be thinking in the way that people are looking for information. So for me, it would be trying to figure out how to get on those more nascent channels in a marketing capacity.
Have you used ChatGPT?
I use it all the time. Ask me how many press releases ChatGPT has written for me in the last 2 weeks. Maybe I've edited them, but yeah, totally. It just makes us a lot more productive.
Well, thank you so much. That's our time. So before you leave, could you just tell everyone if they want to learn more about Plusgrade, where they can find that, and if they want to contact you, where they can do that?
Yes, Danielle Brown, you can find me on LinkedIn. And Plusgrade, you can find us on LinkedIn, or you can hit us up at points.com, or we haven't really revamped plusgrade.com, so don't go there yet, but go to points.com. And then I have a bunch of wonderful colleagues here wearing Plusgrade t-shirts. We are hiring for a bunch of roles. We, even though we went through an acquisition, we're very much in growth mode, and we will be for the next couple of years, so please come find us. Thank you.